Welcome to an orientation of the 2017-2018 Adult Student Profile Document, or ASPD. My name is Tom Sue, and I am the Specialist for Adult Education Data Collection, Reporting, and Accountability at the Virginia Department of Education. In this presentation, I will summarize the changes to the ASPD for 2017-2018. Detailed guidance explaining why the changes were made will be released in early September. It may be helpful to have a copy of the new ASPD in front of you as you follow this presentation. Before taking a more detailed look at the ASPD, I would first like to summarize major differences between the old version, the 2016-2017 ASPD, and the new one. First, the Student Learning Plan section has been removed. Many of you may remember the Student Learning Plan as the section that contained student goal information. While having students establish personal goals and work towards meeting them is an important aspect of adult education, it is no longer required, and therefore must be replaced by data collection elements that are required and/or have a higher priority. Another major change is the removal of the Student Career Plan, or SCP. Although the SCP was removed, we have the electronic version which we can send you if you're interested in using the SCP to supplement the ASPD. My contact information is on the last slide. Finally, students are required to sign a release of information if adult education programs intend to refer students to other local workforce agencies. Because local workforce agencies are encouraged to refer clients to other workforce agencies for support or assistance, the Virginia Department of Education included a release of information statement on the ASPD to permit the release of directory information to workforce agencies. By signing the statement, the student consents to have his or her information released by the adult education provider for this purpose. Note: student consent is not required in order for student information to be shared with the State Adult Education Office for federal reporting. So, what's new on page 1 of the ASPD? One of the new items on page 1 is a question about co-enrollment. Specifically, the question asks whether the student is currently enrolled in a community college program, a training program, and/or a vocational rehabilitation program. The student should check all that apply, even if 2 or more of the selections characterize a single program. While the employment status item is not new, there is now a fourth option: employed but received notice that employment is ending, or separation from military is pending. To select this option, the student must be employed and must have received a notice of termination of employment, or the employer must have issued a worker adjustment and retraining notification, also referred to as a WARN notice, or other notice that the facility or enterprise will close. Or the student must be employed and must be a transitioning service member either within 12 months of separation or 24 months of retirement. Another new item is the release of student information statement mentioned previously to facilitate the issuing of referrals. Note that in addition to a signature and date, the name of the adult education provider must be provided to authorize the release of information. The current status section has been updated to reflect the employment barrier categories identified in WIOA more precisely. Performance reporting for participants who self-identify as a member of an employment barrier category is a new WIOA reporting requirement. Finally, the DOE and local use section has been reorganized into 3 separate sections: student program type, program participation, student funding type. For both the student program type and student funding type, only one option should be selected, even if multiple options apply. A summary of the changes to page 1 is provided in this snapshot. In addition to the red items representing the changes explained on the previous slide, there are 2 blue items that reflect newly required items, that is mailing address, city and state, which replaced the previously required city or county of residence item, and an updated How Did You Hear About Us section, which now includes social media as an option. Remember that items with an asterisk must be completed. Also, page 1 is the only page to be completed by the student. What's new on page 2? Part of the student assessment information section was removed from page 3 to page 2, and renamed Student Academic Assessment Information. In addition, 2 new columns were added: a POP column for tracking the period of participation when the assessment is administered, and a Subject of Record column for selecting which assessment subject area should be the subject of record. Beginning in 2017-2018, adult education providers are responsible for selecting the subject of record for each participant and should no longer rely on the state data system to default to the subject area with the lowest score. In addition to the Student Academic Assessment Information section, there is a new Student Outcomes section for reporting 2 types of outcome attainment. Civics-related outcomes are one type of student outcome. Keep in mind that reporting these outcomes is not limited to IELCE or ELA participants only, but should include any adult education participant who achieves any of the 6 outcomes. Family literacy program outcomes, on the other hand, are the other type of student outcome, and reporting these outcomes is limited to family literacy program participants. VDOE recommends that adult education providers consider collecting outcome attainment data at least once per class term. Only outcomes achieved during the program year should be recognized. Note: if a participant indicates that he or she left public assistance during the program year, make sure that On Public Assistance is checked under Current Status on page 1. Another new section appearing on page 2 is the Student Post-Secondary Education and Training section. Indicate here when a student has exited an adult education program and entered a post-secondary education or training program. Include the name and location, that is city and state, of the post-secondary program. Changes to page 2 are summarized here. The red items represent the changes explained on the previous slide. The blue and green arrows reflect minor changes, dividing the test form level column into 2 columns, test form and test level, and renaming the NC column, number correct, to raw score. Remember that student academic assessment information is required of all students. Instead of entering the information on the ASPD for each student, adult education providers are permitted to maintain official test answer sheets in each student's folder with all required information, for example, assessment date, test level, and EFL, documented on the answer sheets. Page 3 contains the section entitled Secondary and Recognized Post-Secondary Credential Attainment. Under this section, adult education providers may document 5 types of data: official practice test scores, GED test scores, NADP program information, adult high school diploma information, recognized post-secondary credential attainment. While the official practice test scores and GED test scores sections are not new, the other 3 sections are. NADP program information will be used to determine EFL gain and to verify attainment of a secondary credential. Adult high school diploma information will be used to verify attainment of a secondary credential. And recognized post-secondary credential attainment information will be used to evaluate IET success and support state and federal reporting. A summary of changes to page 3 is contained in this snapshot. In addition to the red items representing the 5 types of secondary and recognized post-secondary credential attainment data, a list of the 4 types of recognized post-secondary credential types defined in WIOA is circled in blue. Remember, if a student passes a GED, participates in an NADP program, obtains an adult high school diploma, or earns a recognized post-secondary credential, the adult education provider must enter the information in the applicable sections on page 3 and enter the information in the state data system for that student. Page 4 is where the adult education provider documents daily attendance. This is not new for 2017-2018. However, because of the introduction of periods of participation, or POPs, a section dedicated to tracking each student's entry and exit by POP is provided. Remember that a record of student daily attendance is required of all students. However, adult education providers may maintain attendance logs by class or program, as long as the information provides daily attendance and there is evidence that the attendance is reviewed frequently and regularly. Adult education providers may maintain documentation of entry and exit dates by POP in another format as long as the information clearly indicates the POP entry and exit dates. If you have questions, don't hesitate to contact me. My contact information is provided here on the slide. Thank you.